with, okay, I'm going to get it right, Alchemy GeoPolymer Solutions, okay, and he won the 2014 Startup Prize. That was the first year that they had it. And then we have John Chidlow. He is with Innolyzer Labs, and he won it this past year in 2015. So we're just bringing him here. We wanted to kind of open it up to the community to come in and hear their startup story, kind of like about their business, how it got started, why they decided to participate in the Startup Prize, what they thought they were going to get out of it, and then kind of where they are today after they won. So, you know, it can be real informal, you know, just kind of give us just a little bit.
So, why don't we, I answer the first question and then I pass it to John, and then, you know, I'll do the second question, and so it's not like just like a one full speech and then another full speech. What do you think?
However y'all want to do it.
All right, so is this on? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Carlos Montes, and thank you, Katie, for the introduction. So, like she said, my company is AGS, Alchemy GeoPolymer Solutions, and we're a technology company based in Russell, Louisiana. All this started, well, actually the idea is you know, started about 8-9 years ago when I was starting my PhD over there at Louisiana Tech, and we started doing research into utilizing waste materials. And so a lot of the research that we did was trying to find uses for the waste coal ash that's in the state of Louisiana. And we found that we could actually not just use it, but use it for a product that would have better properties than traditional concrete. And so it was about 4 or 5 years of research that ended up in products that we could actually commercialize. And so the idea of starting a company started, I guess, in 2013-14, which is when we decided that we wanted to take the research produced at Louisiana Tech and turn it into a company that would actually start, you know, selling products. So that it was just a few months before the Startup Prize competition, about 5 to 6 months, and the idea came out from ourselves and also from people at Tech that said, you know, you guys got a great idea, got a great product. Why don't you turn it into a commercial product, into a company? So that's pretty much where it came from.
Well, I'm seeing a trend here. We're also a university spin out. So my company's Innolyzer Labs, and we're doing kind of innovative measurement of hydrogen sulfide in liquids. So it's pretty technical, but it came out of biomedical research at LSU. And as we started looking into this, and we've been at it since early 2014, what we found was that not only was there a good market for biomedical use of a hydrogen sulfide measuring device, there also was markets in water and oil and gas and other niche industries around there because it's such a prevalent gas. So we looked at this as a good opportunity to take something out of the university, commercialize it, and then have an impact on other industries as well in a broader market than just sending it back there. So that's what we do shortly.
So I guess we'll go to the
absolutely.
The second part to that. So I guess the second question was about the competition, right? So how so we heard about it from the school. Some of our colleagues in school said, hey, you know, there's really cool competition going on in Shreveport. You guys should, you know, check it out. And so we checked it out. We registered. I was personally amazed of how friendly and how easygoing the process was. I mean, I don't come, you know, strictly from an entrepreneurship background. And by the way, I'm originally from Mexico, so if you notice my accent. and so my background is more like scientific, and so initially I was a little not scared, but a little uncertain of what was going to happen. And so I was really pleasantly surprised of how friendly and how welcoming the people at the Startup Prize were. And so the first event, it was definitely, you know, it's like, yeah, I belong here, and this is definitely what I want to do. So that's what happened there. And so the first thing we got from the competition was, in my case at least, is knowledge, business knowledge, entrepreneurship knowledge, you know, things about how to run your company, how do you turn all those ideas into like a sound business model, all those things that I really didn't know. And so those 3 weekends were absolutely phenomenal for us to just round up the idea and, you know, ended up with a better business plan. That was the first thing we got. And I think that was one of the questions, like, why do I think we won? And I think the main reason we won is because the idea was really had a lot of potential. And I know we made a good business plan and a good case and everything, but it was just one of those ideas that is really too good to be missed. And so I think that's the main factor why we won. And we know the potential of the idea is really tremendous, and it has it has evolved into many different applications that we didn't think of before the Startup Prize competition. So that I think that's the reason we won. And after winning, well, the exposure was just tremendous. I was just telling Katie that I mean, the number of phone calls, the number of emails just double, triple overnight. You know, we got phone calls from outside the country, from Turkey, from Europe, from China, from the East, West Coast. And so the exposure was really, really important for us. It was a tremendous boom for our company. And so it allowed us to find the right customers for the stage of the company we had in that moment. And we're working on those. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But it was definitely just finding the right customers for the size of our company.
So why we did the Startup Prize. We started out first-time entrepreneurs too, my partners and I, and we started just looking at programs around here we could participate in, gain knowledge, meet people, network. We came down here to Cohab. We were working with them and the program they had here last year, changed names but still going on. And as part of that, we jumped in the Startup Prize as well as used the EAP. We just kind of taken advantage of everything in town. And the Startup Prize it's actually a lot of fun, and we just went to it, signed up because it doesn't really cost anything, and we figured it'd be good networking, meet people, get advice, stuff like that. Didn't even really initially do it to compete, but as we went through it, we realized we have a scalable idea, which seems to be kind of what they're looking for, and rather than talking what we're doing. Another thing that I think was key to it was just, I felt like, and I don't know exactly what the other companies in the final presented, but we spent a lot of time, and even before we started doing that or looking for money, we spent about a year just organizing the company structure, getting everything in the background done well. And when it came down to the end, I think we were more well organized and a little bit further along and into it than some of the other companies we were up against. But it was a great event for networking. It was a lot of fun. It was good times. What was the next question?
Maybe why you think like they chose y'all as the winner.
Well, I think that's kind of what I was saying.
It's like, how did that affect your company?
Oh yeah, like Carlos said, it was a lot of exposure. It was good for us. It was a little bit different because the stage that we're at, we're still in prototyping. We're trying to get to market this summer, but it helped us kind of keep our financing moving forward, keep that on track. We got the money to set up, get a lab, so we're able to do stuff in-house now, and it just, I guess, exposure and attention. Joey just walked in.
Cool. Go ahead, Carlos, you want to answer that?
All right. So, and I think the part of the other question was about like where are we now? You know, well, in my case, 2 years after we won. So, like I said, the Startup Prize really gave us a lot of attention and a lot of customers going on. And one of the things I think initially was a little overwhelming is we got business proposals from companies that wanted to partner with us into really, really big ventures. We turned down some of them. Initially, we were really excited. We wanted to do everything. Whoever called us says, yeah, let's go for it. But soon, we realized that we're not that big of a company. We're still, 5 employees. And we couldn't there were some projects which was too big to handle. I mean, there were some projects, for example, construction in Africa of, 60,000 homes, in 4 years, things like that. So you don't grow up, from a seed in a startup company in Louisiana to something like that in a year. We thought that was a little bit unreasonable. Even though, as lucrative and, and exciting as it may sound, it was just not unreal. So we chose the projects that we thought we could turn into really big contracts, but in a more scalable step. So we got, for example, one of the big projects we have is a contract with a company in Utah that they take trash from municipalities, and after burning it, they extract the metals. So they recover their. That's how they make their money, right? By selling the metals. And so the question was, what do you do with the trash, with the ash, after you take the metals out? So that's where we come in. So we partnered with them. We found that we can do some, products with this ash. It's probably not the most, high-tech products, pavers or things like that you can sell in high volume, but still is utilizing, ash instead of landfilling or throwing it away. So we thought this was a really sound, good business model, scalable. And after, months of negotiations and waiting on them to get their approvals from their customers. We're finally ended up in a contract that's probably going to start production in a few months. So that's I think we thought that was a really good path, even though it was a little difficult, a little frustrating at times, but it's going in a good direction. Some other projects we got is most of them are in waste utilization, waste use of slag. We got also projects in terms of the refractory properties of geopolymer with some power plants up in the East Coast and in the Midwest also. So that's kind of, we got several projects that we're working on. We think they're going to turn out really big. And also in the meantime we also got smaller consulting projects that have basically kept the company going throughout these 2 years while we make the big hit. So that's where we are right now. Not everything has been easy. I mean, there's been some difficult moments, but that's part of being an entrepreneur, and so we're proud of the stage we're now, and so hopefully this year is probably going to be the breakthrough year. Hopefully.
So something that we're working on right now, and that kind of happened out of this in some ways, we knew that as we were prototyping, once we had the lab equipment set up to do all the testing we need, we're also set up to do the experimentation the old way with the machines that we're replacing. And what that's allowed us to do is take in samples, generate revenue, and offset our overhead while we're prototyping the device. But something that came out of the Startup Prize is, well, we know there's industrial niches. We didn't really know who or where to contact for those sorts of things. And we were actually contacted by a refinery, by some other big companies that need sulfide tested, and then have some other things that once we get that business we can get into. And it's allowed us to generate more than we thought we initially would be to basically offset our overhead. So we're just spending our capital on prototyping the project. So that was good.
I've got a question for you guys. So we always talk about, and this will be on the video too, for tips and tricks and advice that you would give somebody that comes into the competition cold. What would those be? Maybe John start and then go back to Carlos.
And first, just talk to everybody. That's all we did. Just go around, talk to them, tell them about what you're doing. They'll ask them about what they're doing. Kind of gets around. I didn't know how much anybody at the competition knew what we were doing or who I was. I just kept talking to people, and then by the third weekend, everybody kind of knows and figures it out. So just be open to whatever comes up.
Yeah, and I would add to that, really take advantage of the mentorship. That's something that really helped us a lot. So don't be shy. I think maybe the first weekend I was a little shy. I'm trying to take advantage of the knowledge that was being offered. But then I realized that this is the opportunity to get that kind of knowledge and exposure with people who's really have a lot of they spend a lot of time doing what they're doing. So you got experts in marketing, you got experts in financing, you got lawyers. I mean, you got all the a lot of help in a lot of areas from your company. So try to figure out what are the aspects that you need the most help, and just go to those panels and go to those workshops.
Would you recommend? I mean, what are some tips or like some advice as far as kind of gaming this system? Would you recommend to go into 1, 2, 3, or any other ways that you played it?
I think the more people you meet and talk to, the better your chances are. You don't know for sure who's going to be in that room at the end, and if you've had conversations with all of them, it's to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I recommend going to all those I recommend go to all of them if you can. Absolutely, because you're gonna be interacting with different people on the different weekends. So it's not because I got that question from some of the contestants from Texas, like, oh, should we go to use one? I said, well, not really, because every weekend's different, and especially you can take advantage of different sections. So you're not going to talk to the same people, over and over. And so just go to all three.
Well, how did your mindset change from being a participant to being in the top 5?
I didn't really even think about it other than like a networking thing until the third weekend ended and people started saying, hey, you might be able to win this thing. And so my mindset kind of changed. I got a little nervous about it, and I really wasn't worried about it before, but then I kind of started feeling competitive. Kevin had to calm me down. But so it was a mindset change. It was, all right, now I'm here. I want to win.
That's right. It's just like John saying, I think we kind of had an idea that we were probably going to be in the top 5 like the last weekend, just just by the kind of feedback we were getting from not just other contestants, but like, you know, just people everywhere were saying, well, you know, I've heard about you guys and people's talking about you guys, and so, well, you know, we thought this is a good indication, and so it wasn't, yeah, I would say we kind of, you know, expected that hopefully in the last weekend, and yeah, I mean, that just made me really thrilled, and I guess it helped me just cement the confidence on the project, you know, and they said, well, I mean, if you know, we got all this good feedback from tech and this good feedback from the people at Startup Prize, I mean, we're definitely on a good track with this project.
What was it like being in that room for with the other 5 contestants in that day of actually pitching? What went right, and what were you anticipating, and what did you not anticipate in questions and preparedness?
Oh, that's kind of funny because I think we were the last to pitch, so I guess maybe the judges were already, you know, maybe a little tired of asking so many questions to the other contestants, and you know, that kind of that could play good or play bad, you know, depending on. I think one of the things that went wrong is, you know, Neil, my partner, he was really trying to show, like, you know, we used to make all these kind of industrial demonstrations at Tech, you know, so we bring visitors in, we mix for them, and we prepare samples for them, like, so he wanted to do that there. I wasn't sure it was going to be a good idea, and you know, it probably wasn't such a good idea because it didn't turn out to be that well. It was difficult to set up the mixing and the curing over there, but it was maybe turned into the positive side because the judges saw goodwill in us, you know, just like, hey, we want to show you, we were really excited about showing you our product, even though it didn't turn out to be that, you know, that great. And that was kind of an icebreaker too, in a way, you know, because it's like, it was kind of, you know, a little funny situation in the beginning, and so that kind of, you know, relaxed everybody, and we can start talking a little more confidently, and so it ended up helping, you know. I wasn't that nervous about the questions. I think we had some really tough questions, and I think I probably, I wasn't sure the night before, maybe I didn't want to think that we were going to have such tough questions. If I would have known, I would have been really nervous. We got some really serious questions from the lawyers, from some of the other you know, judges, in terms of the financials, in terms of the you know, the patent protection, all these questions that were really tough, and I think we answered most of them very, you know, confidently. There were maybe a couple of questions that we really didn't have an answer for, and well, we just didn't have an answer for. It was totally unexpected question, but I think we handled most of the questions, you know, reasonably well. But yeah, definitely the questions were tough. I remember that.
Well, I guess I was a little nervous before it, but I basically have a 12 to 15 minute pitch deck. That's my standard that I just vary based on what's going on. So I thought about everything I need to talk about, bulked it up a little bit, but we're getting ready to go in, and 3 of the judges walk out. Because we're from Shreveport, we work with a lot of the people that are in the Shreveport, in the Startup Prize, and do the judging as well as the mentoring. And so I see my business attorney, my patent attorney, and our website design person all walk out of the room, and they're like, oh yeah, we have to excuse ourselves because we work with you. And I'm like, damn, everybody's gonna vote for us just left. So I go in there, they're not there. I just start talking and going through it, and they're asking questions as I'm going. They ask some tough questions. They did the IP a lot. They did our financials too. I felt like I was able to answer every question. Some of them I wasn't completely happy with the answers I gave. But so I'm just talking and going through it, and they're asking, and all of a sudden Gregory's like, okay, you have 10 minutes left. I've been talking for 50 minutes. And I was like, really? I've been talking that long? Does anybody have other questions? And so I felt like I got through about 90% of everything before we got out of there. But it was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Cool. Guess about that.
Have any other questions?
I've got one for Carlos. Is there a practical application to the just generic consumer out here with your product, by the way? Is there something that, could I use this at Home Depot's or something, or buy there that would be useful?
Yeah, that's one of the, you know, that was one of the key questions we asked ourselves eventually, is that we're gonna go to like a really large volume, you know, final consumer application, or are we gonna hit like the high tech, you know, specialty products? We decided to go into the specialty products to start with because there was a larger margin, you know, profit versus capital cost. But it doesn't mean that we're not gonna try that route later on.
I mean, what could you see? What kind of product could you see a homeowner?
Oh, I mean, just like, cinder blocks, brakes, pavers. I mean, this, any precast product, beams, any kind of precast product, that would definitely be, like stone veneer, things like that. And we've thought about it. And this is something that we may pursue a little later. We didn't want to go for like, a really high volume to start with, so we decided to go for the specialty products first. Yeah.
Any parting thoughts of maybe what not to do through the process, or what you observed maybe other people doing that you wouldn't recommend?
No, I mean, there's all types of companies there, and some are more of a lifestyle business, and they come in and do some networking, and it's not really what the judges are looking for, but I think it's still beneficial to them, same as it is for everybody else, for advice and mentoring. And then some people come in and you're looking at the high growth kind of startup, and that's what they're pitching and doing. But I think it's good for everybody. Definitely you can meet professionals who can help you, work with you, as well as just give you advice there on the spot. So
Yeah, well, one thing that I did see on some of the contestants that I personally I wouldn't do is, I think some of these people were really overconfident on their product, and by that I mean in a way that it sounded more like you wanted to just pretend that your product was great, but it really wasn't. You didn't have a lot to substantiate. So I saw that quite often in some of the contestants. So and there were other contestants that had products that may look a little modest, but when you start talking about it, then you see, well, there's potential in this, even though it's maybe pitched a little low. but I did see pitching high, quite more often, and I think that's something you should definitely not do. I mean, you should be confident and all that, but definitely not exaggerate, because once you exaggerate, I mean, they're just gonna lose complete confidence in what you're saying.
Well, one more question. That's for you and John. You guys did this with a tangible product. For example, I've got an intangible product that I want to present. What would you do if you had something that was intangible, that wasn't something you could touch and feel? Like in your case, you've got you've got this apparatus itself, correct?
we didn't at the time. We didn't have, we've got prototypes now, but at the time we just had pictures of stuff we worked out in the lab. I would think you want to focus on communicating what the markets are for it and how real they are. And I think that's more important than necessarily having your tangible app there, as well as just making sure you're structurally organized and all that. And so when you go in and they're asking the tough questions, you work through that. Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, I mean, it doesn't really matter, if you don't have like a physical sample to show, because that's not your concept. But as long as you show your concept very clearly and you convince them that this has potential, I mean, as you know, who your customers are, where are you going to start penetrating the market, what are the potential projections, those are the things that really interest them. And so I don't think there's really any disadvantage from a physical product versus a virtual or an idea or a software or things like that. I really don't.
Right, and there were people definitely of different stages. Like one of the companies we were up against is working on 3D printing rocket engines.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're not there yet. They didn't have a rocket engine to show. And we're working on this device. We didn't have it yet. We're working it out now. So it's really just communicating what you're trying to do. They don't expect you to be there. It's a startup competition.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Any other questions?
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for having me.